Some years beyond the war, the peace held with great suspicion. Time did not stand still for Enith, however. The Navy welcomed 42 new starships, 15,000 new starfighters, 400,000 new Vaeshkind soldiers, and 20,000 new elite soldiers, known as the Gun Dogs. This includes the eldest son of the Grand Admiral and Onega Arrow. Although he had the natural scientific ability of his father, he was still assured to the genetic engineering of a super soldier. A strong build of a height just beyond 6 feet. Like all the others, the ability to lift 2.5 tons whilst not being overly muscular. He would join the academy to learn the methods of the EDF. Life for the Grand Admiral fell into more of complication. He maintained a healthy balance with his family. However, he suffered a private and inward struggle. The use of the changed weapons brought about peace, but not a sure peace. Most surely, the Horde will be planning their revenge, and he isn't sure that he blames them. That weapon caused so much destruction in the present, and it also caused destruction in the future. With illnesses, sicknesses, and marred genetic heritages. What if the Horde are building their own changed weapons, and they hit Enith? What would we do then? He will keep his appointment to discuss this matter with the defense minister. Dressed in his uniform, the Grand Admiral left his home to his office car that was controlled by his driver. The Grand Admiral observed society around him as he was being driven to the Defense Cabinet building. He reflected on how much change has occurred and all of the advancements that were made by his beloved world. He then suddenly pictured the worst. War come to Enith, the destruction, the devastation, bodies lying in the streets, enemy troops marching in the streets, the enslavement of his people. He develops second thoughts about arguing to place restrictions on the use of the nucleic missiles. He doesn't want to force the hands of all the worlds to create a similar weapon that could be used against Enith, even if by mistake. The meeting went as well as planned. His bosses tend to move a bill forward in Parliament to introduce the reasonable restriction on the use of nucleic arms. Three weeks later, in the main session of the Parliament, the Grand Admiral's measure passed with a slim majority. The debate was intense, as more than a few MPs argued that having such restrictions of a tool of freedom was unwise. Nevertheless, the majority, including the Chancellor, gave her vote for the safety measures. Those changed weapons were to be only used in the most finite of situations, in the last resort. They can only be carried in a Panther-class starcruiser. Use approval must be sanctioned by the Chancellor and the Grand Admiral. On each Panther cruiser, the commanding officer and a political officer will carry a command key. Both keys must be synchronized to activate the launch sequence. The Grand Admiral, though very pleased, hopes that his latest victory is not a mistake. Before leaving his home, Onaga had breakfast with his mother and father. His father, who spends so much time away on his federated job. The breakfast was happy. He sets off back to base for more training. At the base, training began with the newest military vehicles. The high-speed, tandem-seated terrestrial medium-altitude Talon craft. The upright Mechnaz. In Mode 1, a medium-speed, tank-like vehicle with a 115mm main gun on a turret. In Mode 2, the vehicle can transform to possess legs and arms, the turret for its head, and with the main gun on top. Onaga trained with his best friends. The Vaeshkind male, in his true form and job as Chief Scientific Officer, arrived to observe the training of his new vehicles. Of his 500 years of life, he had never been so pleased. He asked Onaga for feedback on the technology. He was so proud of his secret son. He looked deeply into Onaga's eyes as the soldier, his son, gave him the report. Just then, terrible news. The Horde had broken into the belt. The war was renewed.